Hey, what's going on, Thrilligans? Welcome back. It's been a week, I know. It's been a crazy, crazy week since I've last been on. For you guys who didn't make it last week, you guys could go back and rewatch the After Hours special with Lex Vargas. It was a hell of a lot of fun. You guys were awesome. I thought you guys would roast her the way that you roasted me. You did not. You were polite. You asked a lot of questions, and I can only speak for myself, but I had a super fun time. Glad you guys can make it. If you're interested in that sort of thing, I have a couple other authors I'd love to have on here. I'm thinking about doing it maybe bi-weekly. So next Friday, I might come on and get another author on here and just generally shoot the shit, talk about their books, about my books, about life, blah, blah, blah. So, why have I been off all week when I said I'd be on around 10 each day? Well, Montreal is now in Code Red. Code Red basically means that we're shutting down once more. Too many COVID cases. Thankfully, the schools are staying open, so that I'm hoping that continues to be the case. That's the most important thing, in my opinion. However, all of the bars, restaurants, cinemas, that sort of stuff are officially locked down for a minimum of 28 days. So that pushes us almost Halloween, which, as you guys probably could have guessed or know already, is my favorite holiday. My wife and I, we went to... Oh my God, it's so hard to do this. Pigeon, which is this cute little cafe near us. I know that they're going to struggle a lot, like most businesses, because they're forced to close down. So if you guys are local and you're looking to buy some coffee or some sandwiches, fantastic sandwiches, please order locally. See if we can keep some of these businesses afloat during this very difficult time. So, another update. The merch. We have officially completed the designs for the Thrilligan merchandise. We're talking about shirts, t-shirts, mugs, totes, notepads, all that stuff that's officially branded by myself and Pathological Ink that will represent our favorite characters. So Chase, Drake, and Beckett. So that should, I placed an order last night, very first order. I'm hoping to get that first, make sure the quality's on par, and then I'm going to send you guys out the link and you guys can pick up some swag. And I can tell you, man, the designs are lit. I'm super stoked with my cover designer managed to do, because he's a cover designer, not a clothing designer. Neither am I. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Another way to support the stream. Speaking of supporting the stream, got my first ever donation, first ever tip for my live stream. So Andy, thank you so much for your $10 donation. Much, much, much appreciated. A bunch of other follows. We have Rachel, Farah, and Peter, Donna, Melanie, Doreen, Scotty, all followed the stream, so I very much appreciate it. Look, you guys, this is going to be free. It's always going to be free, but if you're enjoying it, please consider subscribing for a small fee. You get some bonus content, get to chat with me more privately. Sounded a bit weird. Special page where you guys can all interact, and some exclusive stories. But you don't have to. The best way you can actually follow it, just hit that like button, follow the page, hit the bell, because the bell will notify you every time that I'm going live. And I promise to go live more often. I'm hoping to do again every weekday from 10 to 2. And I know I didn't do it this week, but dealing with this lockdown has been difficult, so I'm going to use that as my excuse. So yeah, just to recap, Mel, thanks for the like. Just to recap, next Friday, I'm really hoping to have a special guest around the same time, 5 Eastern, have a few apple juices and chat. I think you're going to be very happy with this guest as well. Super, super popular guy. Writes under 2 different pen names, but hopefully we can break the news, break the secret. All right, so today we are going to get back to live streaming Adverse Effects, the 8th book in the Chase Adams series. Leanne, thank you for the like as well. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I actually managed to put up another book in the Chase series for pre-orders called Direct Evidence. It is going to come after Adverse Effects, after Already Dead. So I think that makes it the 10th book in the series, or 10th or 11th. And that one is going to reintroduce one of the characters from earlier in Chase's life in her series, and one of the problems that he encountered when he's arrested for a crime that he says he didn't commit. I mean, we all say we don't commit the crimes that we do, if we commit crimes which we shouldn't. All right, so here we go. It's gonna take me a few minutes to get back into the groove here. Welcome to all the new viewers. Hi to everyone on Twitch and on YouTube. Still trying to figure out how those platforms work. They seem to actually, well, obviously Twitch is geared towards this sort of thing, live streaming gaming. There are some other writers on there I'm checking out, see what they're doing. Some interesting stuff. So I'm hoping to get some more follows there, build the brand a little bit more. So we left off. We had Chase, who was undecided about whether or not she was going to join the hunt for, or actually to help out Floyd, who was dealing with these girls who jumped in front of the train and killed themselves. So meanwhile, Floyd is having a hard time breaking the news to the father of one of the deceased girls. And now, I think, yeah, he just revealed the news that to the man that Madison killed herself. So we're gonna hop. We were flipping. We were flipping back and forth between Floyd and Chase, their perspective, and I'm hoping to continue doing that for at least maybe the entire first part. Don't know what it's gonna be called yet, and then we'll focus more on just Chase. Hopefully they come together. We'll see. All right. So we're gonna head back to Chase. As always, guys, if you have any questions or comments, just type it in the chat. I'll get to it. I'm pretty sure I can see the other chat as well. The Twitch chat and the YouTube, but if I miss those, then I apologize. I'm still trying to work out exactly how to respond to all of the different chats at once. And my computer, even though I built it and it's pretty much a beast, I think it's gonna struggle a little bit. We'll see. Chapter 10, new paragraph. Chase leapt over a fallen log, without breaking stride, period. She pumped her arms in time with her leg, her breathing shallow, trying to suck as much oxygen out of the air as she could possibly muster, period to paragraph. She knew that this was going to be her best times, that this was going to be one of her fastest 5K runs, and this fueled her to run even harder, period to paragraph. What made it more difficult was that the ground was wet from dew, the leaves slick beneath her running shoes, period. But this didn't slow her down, period to paragraph. She was much quicker now than she was even back when she was younger, in much better shape, period to paragraph. And despite the flurry of thoughts that entered her mind, the fact that she'd only gotten maybe at best 2 hours of sleep the night prior, she continued to push herself as hard as she could possibly go, period to paragraph. Chase took a hard right around a pine tree that was marked with a blue ribbon, The previous owner had left it there for reasons that she didn't fully understand, period. This wasn't the only ribbon, either, period. All around the property, trees were wrapped in either blue or red or purple ribbons, and Chase often wondered what their purpose was, period. She knew that she could take them down, as well, and had considered doing just that, period, to paragraph. But she liked them. Semicolon, liked the mystery of them, period, to paragraph. She banked left at another blue ribbon, and just then she saw the log cabin loom into view, period, to paragraph. It was at the top of a hill, which meant that the final 100 meters or so were the most difficult, the most taxing on her body, period, to paragraph. She glanced down at her fitness watch, and saw that she was a good 40 seconds faster than her previous run, period. And if she could close this last 100 meters, new paragraph. Chase dashed these thoughts from her head and continued to press onward, period. She was nearly there, she nearly made it to the porch when her right foot slipped and she crashed down onto one knee, period, to paragraph. Pain shot up to her hip, but it wasn't this that bothered her as she scrambled back to her feet and finished the run, period, to paragraph. It was the fact that her time had suffered, period, to paragraph. She made it to the porch and collapsed down on her ass, pressing her knee to her chest and rubbing the right one absently from where it smacked against the soft earth, period, to paragraph, open quote. God damn it, close quote, she cursed, in between deep breaths, period, open quote. God damn it, period, close quote, to paragraph. Just then, she heard the door behind her open, creaking loudly, announcing someone's presence, period, to paragraph, open quote. You shouldn't swear, Auntie Chase, period, close quote, to paragraph. Chase looked dead ahead for a moment, sucked in one large breath, and then turned around, putting on her best smile, period, to paragraph, open quote. You're right, sweetie, close quote, she said, period, to paragraph. A sleepy-looking Georgina stood in the doorway, her hands dangling limply at her sides, the front of her nightie adorned with a penguin, wrinkled and crooked, period, to paragraph. The girl yawned, and then rubbed the eyes. Rubbed her eyes with the heel of her hands, period. New paragraph. It was times like these that Chase had to remind herself how young the girl actually was, period. That despite all that she'd been through, she was only 6 years old, period, to paragraph. And with that age came a level of naivete, of inexperience, of forgetfulness, all of which could be helpful, Chase knew, period, to paragraph. Open quote. You want some breakfast? Question mark, close quote, in a paragraph. Georgina nodded, and Chase's smile grew, period, to paragraph. With a grunt, she pushed herself to her feet, and made her way inside the cabin, guiding Georgina in front of her, period, to paragraph. Open quote. All right, What do you feel like? Question mark. Toast? Question mark. Or bacon and eggs? Question mark. Close quote in a paragraph. Open quote. Close quote. New paragraph. Chase waited patiently by the refrigerator while Georgina collected her thoughts. Period. New paragraph. Open quote. Bacon and eggs. Close quote. She said at last. Period. New paragraph. Chase grinned. Period. New paragraph. Open quote. That's my girl. Period. Close quote. New paragraph. New paragraph, star, new paragraph, new paragraph. Chase spent most of the day exploring the acres of land behind the house with Georgina, period. They found an old, desiccated wasp nest, and Chase Use this as a stepping stone to explain the cycle and circle of life in the forest and in general, period, into paragraph. How all living things eventually died, comma, how they fed the earth to allow new living things to grow, period. She kept it superficial, comma, but when Georgina continued to ask deeper and deeper questions, comma, Chase didn't shy away from the answers, period, into paragraph. She knew that doing so would be a disservice to the child, comma, that offering answers to questions like, comma, open quote, offering non-answers to questions, comma, to replying in, comma, I'll tell you when you're older, comma, or we'll talk about this later, comma, only served one purpose, colon, to stifle creativity, period, into paragraph. To stifle creativity, comma, to dampen. Man, that was super loud. Sorry about that. Inquisition, comma, to eventually, comma, however, comma, when the questions degenerated into but why, comma, but how, comma, at a level that Chase couldn't nail down, comma, she did change the subject a little bit, period, to paragraph. But when Georgina asked about her mother, comma, about if she was in the ground feeding the earth and allowing new plants and life to grow, comma, Chase hesitated, period, to paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma, yes she is, comma, close quote. Chase said softly, comma, looking out over the small pond at the back of her property, period, to paragraph. She expected Georgina to burst into tears then, comma, but when she cast a glance over at the girl, comma, she saw that while her expression was sullen, comma, the girl was also looking over the pond, period, to paragraph, open quote. That's good then, comma, close quote, she said softly, comma, almost too softly for Chase to pick up, period, to paragraph. Chase nodded, comma, and felt tears well in her eyes, period, to paragraph. She forced this away, period, to paragraph, open quote. What about my dad? Question mark, close quote, to paragraph. The question took Chase completely by surprise, comma, so much so that this time she didn't just hesitate before answering, comma. She just continued to stare, period, to paragraph. A moment passed, comma, maybe two, comma, and eventually, comma, Georgina came over and started to tug on Chase's sleeve, period, to paragraph. There was no avoiding this question, comma, and as much as she wanted to change the subject, comma, Chase found that impossible, period, to paragraph, open quote. What about my dad, comma, Chase, question mark? Is he also feeding the bugs in the earth? Question mark, close quote, to paragraph. Chase's expression hardened and she turned expression downward to look at Georgina, period, to paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma, close quote, she lied, period, paragraph. In her mind, comma, she pictured Dr. Crook. As the bullet tore through his chest, comma, as he collapsed to the ground, comma, still grinning, comma, with Damien Drake hovering over him, period, to paragraph. Georgina must have been picturing the same thing, comma, because what she said next changed the entire course of the discussion, period, to paragraph, open quote. My father wasn't the man with the butterflies, comma, was he? Question mark, close quote in the paragraph. This seemed like a test to Chase, comma, and while it was a sophisticated test issued by a 6-year-old, comma, she knew better than to lie, period in the paragraph, open quote. No, comma, he wasn't your father, period, close quote in the paragraph. Georgina nodded, period in the paragraph. And Chase started to wonder exactly how much Georgina remembered from before the time that she and Stitz had broken into the small home where XYZ had lived with his brother and the harem of women that they'd abducted over the years, period in the paragraph. That was something she decided she would keep from the girl, comma, at least for now, period in the paragraph, no matter what questions she asked, period in the paragraph, open quote. But he's dead, question mark, my real dad, question mark, close quote in the paragraph. Chase bit the inside of her lip and looked away as she lied once more, period in the paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma, honey, period. I'm sorry, period, close quote in the paragraph. Georgina remained silent, comma, and Chase let this lack of their conversation be replaced by the sound of small lapping of frogs in the pond, comma, of the breeze swishing the large daisies back and forth behind them, period in the paragraph. Eventually, comma, it was Georgina who spoke up again, period in the paragraph, open quote. When are we going to talk about schools, comma, Chase, question mark, close quote in the paragraph. Chase turned to look at her, period in the paragraph. Part of the reason why she decided to spend so much time outside with Georgina today, comma, was because based on the chill in the air, it was one of the last few days of nice weather they were going to have, period in the paragraph. The other part, comma, however, comma, was that she was dreading this very question, period in the paragraph, open quote. You promised, comma, close quote. Georgina reminded her, period in the paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, I guess I did, period, close quote. Chase took a deep breath and shook out her shoulders, period, open quote. You want to go talk about it now, question mark. We can head out back to the house and talk about it, period, close quote in the paragraph. A small smile appeared on Georgina's heart-shaped lips, period in the paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, I'd like that, comma, close quote, she said, period, open quote. I'd like that a lot, period, close quote. All right. Oh. What is going on? I got raided by Mezzo9. Thank you so much for raiding the stream. Very much appreciated. Like I said earlier, I'm new to Twitch. Still figuring out how these things work. Mostly stream on Facebook, but I'm learning a new platform. For all you new people who don't know who I am, well, my name is right there on the title, Patrick Logan. I'm the author of about 50 thriller novels that have sold 1 million copies. It's my day job. It's an absolute dream job. I love it. If you guys are interested in my work, you can listen to what I'm doing right now, or you can go to Amazon, just search for Patrick Logan, and all my books will pop up there. Leanne, thank you for the like. The Lady Writes, thank you for the follow. Leaky Old Man Butt, well, I hope that your incontinence is taking care of itself, but thank you very much for the follow. So, Soul Scribble Kupo, thank you for the follow. I don't really understand why. Maybe you guys can help me out. So I use Streamlabs to stream here, and I don't really know why, but all my alerts come up with that stupid zombie, whereas I have these really cool alerts if you hit that like on Facebook. Don't know. Okay, so a couple questions here. It was late. Where have I been? Lisa, we're under lockdown rules right now, and while the schools are still open, things are quite difficult. And I took a little bit of a break this week, but I'm going to be back. As I discussed earlier, next Friday, I'm hoping to have a super special guest on, do the after hours again, chat to other famous indie authors, and see what they've been up to. And then tomorrow night, I might do something completely different, stream something unrelated to writing at all. Still undecided if you guys are... See, there's the cool effect there. New like. Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. I will be back to entertain you all next week. Promise. I got to get this book done. As you know, the deadline is looming, and I'm trying my best not to push any more of them. I know you guys are patiently waiting for more books, and like I said, I'm working on it. And for you guys who missed it as well, the merch is coming very soon. Okay, here we go. Okay, sorry. Now I got all the Twitch chat here. All right. Okay. So everyone's asking about the dictation. Yes. So this is how I write the books. This is what I've been doing for the last 2 years, maybe. I find it to be much easier on the joints, obviously, but I also find that just speaking the story gets the story out as fast as possible, which is my main goal for the first draft. I usually can do this when I'm really in the groove, 10 to 15,000 words a day, so I'll be able to complete a first draft in a week, and then I'll do a week of editing, and then I have 2 editors on retainer. It goes to them, and that's how we work. I don't actually plot my books at all. If we go back to the live screen here, these are the chapters I did last week. And basically I don't have any plot. I just know where the stories are going. This is the 8th book in the series, so I know the characters. You guys know the characters, so I don't really need to reinvent the wheel there. I'd imagine, though, I've written first in the series this way too, so it's just much easier for me to do it this way. It's much faster, it's cleaner. I get to tell a story. Okay. Yeah, I could do 10 to 15,000 words a day, no problem. I think I haven't done it on Twitch, but on Facebook I was doing 15,000 word days, 3-4 hours. 5 hours. I've done up to 25,000 words a day. I wrote one of my books in the medical thriller genre. I wrote that in like 2.5 days, and one of the days was 25,000 words. Like I said, I've been doing this for 3 years full time. I've got 50 books under my belt, and with every book it comes a little easier. Yeah, so this is what happens. I generally, if I'm missing a name, which I often forget names, last names, what they were wearing, that kind of shit, then I'll just throw in a placeholder like XYZ ABC, and then through my editing, I'll go and fix that all up. I have to edit the Twitch settings in Streamlab. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna check it out, but like literally I have one general settings page where I set up all the alerts. So I don't know why you would have a different one for Twitch, or if that's the way it works. Welcome everybody. Welcome. I guess you're saying that someone else does a lot of chatting more than writing. Yeah. Yeah, you know, last week I had tons and tons of questions, and we're just having some fun chatting. So, you know, I try to explain a little bit about what I'm doing. I don't do this every chapter. Sometimes I do it before, sometimes I do it afterwards, kind of where my head was and how I can, or what I'm trying to accomplish with that chapter. And then, you know, sometimes I talk about things that I'd rather speed up in the editing process. Sometimes I get a little rambly, a little long, but that's kind of my process. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Welcome to Twitch. So I have a pretty big following on Facebook. The question is, sorry, welcome to Twitch. What made you want to try streaming over here? So I have a pretty big following on Facebook, about 20,000 people, something like that. And I built a new computer to be able to handle the streaming, because the program that I use, my bad. This program that I use here, the Dragon Naturally Speaking, is just a pure memory hog, and it was unable to handle the streaming and the live feed and the dictation. So I built a new computer, and in doing that, I was like, oh, maybe I could start streaming on Twitch and YouTube and that sort of thing. So that's kind of the reason why. And with Streamlabs, it makes it super, super easy. Just to, reach a different audience, I guess. Always trying to grow the brand, get new viewers involved, and hopefully drive some of you guys to the books. So that's kind of why I do it on YouTube as well. But I think, and I've said this before, I think what I'm going to do on YouTube is I'm going to, when I finish a book completely, I'm going to try to piece it all together, take out some of this convo, and then throw that on YouTube as a permanent video. Live streams are better on here? Well, if you say so. I mean, I guess my platform on Facebook grew substantially. because I was advertising a lot years ago and on Facebook when I first kind of went full time in this business, and so that's kind of where things grew. And that's where a lot of my fans are. So my demographic is mostly there. And so that's where I communicate with them primarily, and also through my newsletter. But that's why I'm trying to reach a new audience on Twitch. I think it's more of a younger audience. And yeah, YouTube is good for polished stuff. Completely agreed. Yeah. Streamline content. I know there are a lot of streamers on there. At least a lot of gaming streamers on YouTube. If you guys have any questions at all about writing, publishing, that sort of thing, like anything goes. For everyone new, everyone from the raid, I'm super, super transparent, so pretty much willing to talk about anything on here about the business anyways. All right, I'm gonna do another chapter here, guys. I'm gonna be on here for hopefully another hour and a half. See if I can pump out a few more chapters. Oh yeah, I usually have. This is what I usually have here. This is the project totals, right? So, my books are usually between around 65,000 words. General kind of benchmark to hit, although I just kind of tell the story. Sometimes it's shorter, a lot of times it's longer than that. The last book was around 100,000 words, and then each day I try to do 10,000 words, but again, these are just guidelines. I kind of just go with the flow. Yeah, the lady writes. I was looking at some other streamers for writing. That's the thing though, like I think it's on Facebook or even in Streamlabs, I can't actually pick like just writing as a category. So I just write books. I have no idea. I guess Facebook is now geared towards gamers almost exclusively. I know there's a just chatting section, so I'm still trying to get to reach some people and watch to see what they're doing with their writing. And then I also I did last week, I did a kind of like an interview. Kind of like an interview with another famous indie author, and we chatted a lot. So I'll be doing those every second Friday. That's the goal. Bringing other authors on, successful authors, see what they're up to, see how the grind's going for them. Your page is on Facebook, but you don't video there. Well, with Streamlabs, it's super easy. I just click a button, it goes to all three sources. All right, I'm gonna crank out another chapter. We're going back to Floyd. Floyd just spoke to the father of one of the kids who jumped in front of the subway train, and he was fearful that he was gonna be beat up. Facebook is for readers for me. Well, Facebook Live is what I do there. I haven't found the right video format for that yet. Yeah, I just Facebook Live there. I set up an event last week and it seemed to work fine, although I generally just go live. The thing about Facebook, I go in here just mug here. The thing about Facebook is that even though I have tons and tons of fans, dude, regular viewers are going to kill me for saying this again because I sound like a broken record. But the thing about Facebook is that even though I have tons and tons of fans, literally 1% of people or less that follow me will ever get a notification that I go live. And then they want me to pay. Facebook wants me to pay to reach my own fans, which I think is dog shit, but it kind of sucks. So that's why I'm always like, yeah, hit that like, smash the follow, because Facebook's algorithms say, oh, this one's a popular video, and they'll start sending out more of my people. Not randos, but people who actually follow me and would like to know or would like to watch some of these things. I initially started this because I was getting all kinds of questions like, how do you write a book so quickly? What is your process? And I said, well, fuck, you guys want to know? We're here. We're gonna watch it. I haven't actually streamed any of my editing because that I do with the keyboard, and I don't think that's gonna be as interesting. But if you guys are up for it. Oh, there's Lex. So Lex, thanks for the like, Lex. Lex was on last Friday. And we had a fun time, a little chat. Did you have a good time, Lex? Because I did. We're trying to get her writing partner on as well next time, but we do a lot with the keyboard. Keyboard streaming, like typing. Yeah, I mean, could work. But I mean, maybe one time I was thinking about doing a couple charity streams where I'll do a whole book, a 24-hour stream. I know this is huge in the gaming world where you just stream for 24 hours. You just play COD forever. But in this case, I think I would be able to write a book from start to finish in that time period. So that's something that I'm looking forward to doing as well. That just takes some logistics. I have 3 young girls who need to be dropped off at school, picked up, fed, watered, that kind of thing. So I don't know if that's going to happen. That's going to happen anytime soon, but that's something I'm really, really looking forward to doing. I always love challenges, so I like pushing the envelope when it comes to anything from like exercise to writing to anything in my life. I like to push myself, so I think that's something that is on the docket. 24-hour stream, live stream a whole book, get it up, giddy up, get it on Amazon. Okay, all right, so this is what happens. You guys ask questions, I don't get any work done. And then you yell at me. And say, where's the fucking books? I want more books. Yeah, so the endurance for that would be crazy. I think a couple months ago, I live streamed for like 4 or 5 hours, and after a while, the voice is just hoarse. But I think that, with some, like anything, the more you do it, the more your brain becomes conditioned and pattern recognition, and you can get it done. I don't think I've seen anybody do that before, though. I'm sure it's been done. 24 hours of book written, for sure. But, I mean, if not, then I'll be the first. Okay, guys, I'm going to do another chapter here. I'll get back to your comments. Again, feel free to write any questions, comments in the chat, and I'll get to it. Here we go. Oh yeah, because I don't plan, I do have some like mental gaps where I have to pause and think about things, but I'm always trying to cut those down and just tell the story, get the story out. I think some more amateur writers or beginning writers, they forget that you're writing a story, and the story is the most important thing, so they get bogged down by specific details that they can always do later on once the story's told. But I find if I go back and I'm like, oh wait, this sentence didn't sound right, this wasn't perfect, if I do that during the writing process, then I can't stay like in this fluid like mode where I'm telling an actual story. I consider it a little bit like if you're at a campfire and you're telling a story, you're not going to go back and be like, oh, you know what, wait a second. Or you could, I guess, but people are going to lose interest in the story, right? And then you're going to lose your train of thought. So in this case, I just like to get the story out, and then I'll polish it through the editing phase. And then, like I said, I got 2 editors on retainer who do excellent work and put up with me when I'm like, hey, you need to proofread this 90,000 word book by tomorrow. And then you need to send it on to the other editor, and they need to do it in 2 hours. And, well, I mean, I've been working with them so long, they're used to it by now, but I'm pretty sure they hate me. All right, we're gonna go with no links in the chat, please. Thank you. Let's be respectful, people. I can delete that. All right. Chapter 11, new paragraph. Okay, despite saying that, it's gonna be so annoying if I don't remember this guy's name. Or his last, he was Mr. something. What was he? Mr. Yeah, okay, so I already have Mr. XYZ. I'm gonna go with Mr. XYZ. The alphabet killer. Let's go. Mr. XYZ, comma, who was already on his knees, comma, let go of Floyd's pant leg and recoiled as if he'd been struck in the chest with a hammer. period, new paragraph, open quote. What? Question mark, close quote. He asked, comma, his eyes going wide, period, new paragraph. Floyd cleared his throat and adjusted his posture, comma, trying to acquire an air of authority, period, new paragraph. You're the FBI agent, comma, here, comma, Floyd, period. Don't forget that, period, new paragraph, open quote. I'm very sorry, Mr. XYZ, comma, but Madison committed suicide, period, close quote, new paragraph. The man was stupefied, period, new paragraph, open quote. Impossible, period. That's ... That's impossible, period, close quote, new paragraph. Floyd shook his head, period, new paragraph, open quote. I'm very sorry to tell you this, comma, but we have video footage of M dash, close quote, new paragraph. The man rose to his feet again, comma, staggered a little, and this time Floyd reached for the gun on his hip, period. He didn't go as far as to pull it out, comma, but he did release the safety on the holster, period, new paragraph. The last thing he wanted to do was to pull his gun on this grieving man, comma, but he wouldn't let him be grabbed again, period, new paragraph. Why the hell didn't I take one of Dunbar's men with me? Question mark, he asked himself for what was felt like the 1,000th time, period, to paragraph, open quote. She would never, M dash, Madison would never commit suicide, period. There has to be a mistake, comma, someone must have doctored the video, period, close quote, to paragraph. Once again, comma, Floyd shook his head, period, to paragraph, open quote. I'm really sorry, comma, Mr. XYZ, period. Close quote to paragraph. The man reached over and placed a hand on the wall for support. Period to paragraph, open quote. No, comma, close quote. He nearly moaned, period, open quote. Not Madison, period, close quote to paragraph. Floyd blinked slowly, comma, picturing the girl's white blonde hair that she'd seen in her driver's license, period to paragraph. He didn't understand. He understood the man's disbelief, semicolon. According to Dunbar, comma, Madison and her girls were the most popular people in school, period, new paragraph. They had everything going for them, comma, which is why the decision for all of them to jump in front of the subway train after receiving a mysterious text was unbelievable, period, new paragraph. The text, period. I need to find out about the text, period, new paragraph, open quote. Mr. XYZ, comma. Does Madison have a computer? Question mark. Close quote, new paragraph, open quote. What? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. A computer, comma. Does Madison have a laptop? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Floyd knew that oftentimes messages and chat, telephone messages. What is 1900s? Telephone messages. Text messages were stored remotely on computers, period. New paragraph, open quote. Yeah, comma, she has a computer, period. Close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Could we, could I, the FBI borrow it? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Technically, comma, Floyd should have gotten a warrant for this sort of thing, comma, but if Mr. XYZ was willing to give it up, new paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma, sure, comma, close quote, the man said, period. He had an airy tone to his voice, comma, and all the bravado that he'd spewed forth when Floyd had first knocked on the door was entirely gone, period to paragraph. As he receded from the front hallway and headed upstairs, comma, his gait was strange, comma, almost robotic, period to paragraph. And Floyd found himself wondering if this was the man would stay like this forever, period to paragraph. If someone ever recovered from the death of their child, comma, especially one with such strange circumstances as these, period, paragraph. A few moments later, comma, the man returned, comma, holding a silver laptop in one hand, period. He held it out to Floyd, comma, and Floyd thanked him and took it, period, paragraph, open quote. Unsure of what to do next, comma, Floyd started to turn towards the door and then hesitated, period, paragraph, open quote. Was Madison ... Was she depressed at all? Question mark, close quote. The moment that Floyd uttered these words, comma, he cringed, period, paragraph. Mr. XYZ looked at him, comma, cocking his head to one side, period, paragraph, open quote. She was ... She was my little girl, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Floyd decided not to push the envelope, period, into paragraph, open quote. Is there someone you can call, question mark, someone to stay with you, question mark, close quote, into paragraph. The man nodded, period, into paragraph, open quote. My brother, period, close quote, into paragraph. Open quote. My brother, period, close quote, into paragraph, open quote. Then I suggest you give him a call, period. NYPD will follow up in an hour or so, comma, give you more details and bring you back to the... Someone from the NYPD should be here in a couple hours, comma, to come pick you up, period. It's best if you had someone to go with you, period, close quote, in a paragraph. This time, comma, Mr. XYZ just stared ahead blankly, period, in a paragraph. Open quote. Again, comma, I'm very sorry for your loss, comma, close quote, Floyd said as he exited the apartment building, period, in a paragraph. By some miracle, comma, Floyd managed to maintain a authoritative posture as he descended down the first floor stairs and made it to the front door, period. He saw an elderly woman trying to enter the apartment building with bags in each of her hands and held the door for her, period, in a paragraph. She thanked him, comma, and Floyd nodded in return, period, in a paragraph. But the moment that he got back into his car and slid behind the wheel, comma, tossing the laptop onto the passenger seat, comma, he broke down, period, in a paragraph. All right. Okay, so yeah, a little bit of a shorter chapter. I just need to get Floyd out of that situation. I think it ended kind of lamely. I want him to be really affected by this. As you guys know, this is like pretty much his first time as a solo, or it is his first time as a solo agent on a case. We'll find out exactly why that is later on and how it's deliberate. But, oh, thanks, Mets, for the claps. But basically, I wanted to get some of the emotion in there. I wanted to comment on how the man who found out his daughter is dead is basically just becomes a shell of a human being. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. And then we're going to go back to our main protagonist, who is Chase Adams, and she is going to be talking to her daughter. I really wanted some parallels between... maybe not parallels, but the idea that the book is about these girls who committed suicide and unraveling that mystery there. But it's also about Chase speaking to her niece, who now she's the de facto parent for that child. So we have this kind of dichotomy between the losing of losing the death of these kids. I don't like euphemisms, by the way. So the death of these girls versus her now, becoming a parent to her niece. So that's kind of what I'm playing with a little bit here. Oh, Dawn, thank you for the like. I forgot, I usually listen to music during this thing. I'll put some tunes on. Copyright free, of course. 1 second, guys. Just getting the music on here. Turn it way down. Yeah, so this is pretty much what I listen to during writing. Depending on the scene, I don't really change it, to be honest with you. But I have in the past listened to more like techno, raw beats, that sort of thing. Right now we got some chill tunes. Chapter 12, new paragraph. Chase had assumed that the hardest part of enrolling her niece into school would have been her letting go, period to paragraph. That appeared far from the case, period to paragraph. Something that Chase hadn't considered when purchasing this plot of land about an hour and a half from Manhattan was that there were no schools in the general vicinity, period. In fact, comma, the only school within a 50-mile radius was a high school, period to paragraph. The elementary school was 10 miles further from that, period to paragraph. Open quote. Elmridge Elementary, comma, close quote. Georgina said as she leaned in close to the screen and squinted, period to paragraph. Open quote. Very good, comma, close quote. Chase said, period. She was surprised that, given the She was often surprised by how intelligent Georgina was, comma. Georgina often surprised her at how intelligent she was, semicolon. Her mother had been smart, comma. That much Chase knew, comma. But so far as she could tell, comma, the girl had never gone to any school, done any schooling, period to paragraph. Likely, her mother and father had done some homeschooling, comma. But it wasn't Georgina's intelligence that Chase was worried about when she eventually came to terms with the fact that she would have to ship her off to school, period to paragraph. It was the social aspect, comma, or lack thereof, period to paragraph. Georgina had been brought up in a household of 6 women and 2 men, comma, whose average age was probably in their mid to late 30s, period to paragraph. In fact, comma, Chase doubted that Georgina had spent any time at all with children her age, period to paragraph. And while the girl did not share the same last name as her biological father, comma, M. Chase had quickly made sure that the girl changed her name to Adams, M. If anybody found out exactly who she was, dot dot dot, new paragraph, open quote. Is that where I'm going to school? Question mark, close quote. Georgina asked, comma, turning to look at Chase, period. There was a mixture of excitement and apprehension on the girl's round face, period, new paragraph, open quote. I don't, dot dot dot, I don't know, comma, close quote. Chase replied honestly, period, new paragraph. She knew little about selecting which school would be best for the young girl, comma, as this is something that her husband had done when Felix was ready to attend, period, new paragraph. But it didn't seem right to select the only school in the region simply because of its proximity to where they live, period, new paragraph. After all, comma, they could move, dot dot dot, new paragraph, open quote. Is this where Louise's kids go to school? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Chase shook her head. Period, new paragraph, open quote. No, comma, close quote. As she spoke, comma, she racked her brain, comma, trying to come up with the name of the school that Louisa said her two boys went to, period. Eventually, it came to her, period. She searched for it, comma, and was led to a website that was in a different class from Elmridge Elementary, period, new paragraph, open quote. This is the one, period, close quote, new paragraph. As she started to scroll through the website, comma, she realized that this was a semi-private school that cost a pretty penny to send their children, period. Money for Chase wouldn't be a problem, comma, but she was surprised that Louisa would be able to afford something like this, period, new paragraph. After all, comma, so far as she knew, comma, the girl hadn't worked. Woman hadn't worked a steady job since being released from the psych facility, period, new paragraph. Sure, comma, she had the support of her husband, comma, but according to Louisa, comma, that had waned recently, period, new paragraph, open quote. I like this one, comma, close quote, Georgina said as Chase scrolled to an image of three smiling girls kicking a ball in what looked like an auditorium, period, open quote. I really like this one, period, close quote, new paragraph. Gone was the apprehension, comma, replaced with 2 times the excitement, period, new paragraph, open quote. Can I go to this one? Question mark. Can I go to this school? Question mark, close quote. She squinted again and leaned in close to the screen, comma, using a pudgy finger to underline the name, period, open quote. Bishop's Academy, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. The name came out. Oh. The name came out as Buy Shops, period, new paragraph, open quote. Bishops, comma, close quote. Chase corrected, period, new paragraph. Georgina repeated the word, period, new paragraph, open quote. Can I go here? Question mark. Can I go with Louisa's boys? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Chase pulled up the address, comma, and then plopped it into Google Maps, period, new paragraph. It was more than 100 miles from where they live now, period, new paragraph, open quote. No, comma, it's M dash, close quote, new paragraph. When Georgina's face fell, comma, Chase stopped herself mid-sentence, period, new paragraph. Why can't she go to that school? Question mark. She asked herself, period. Why can't I just move from here and move closer to the city? Question mark, new paragraph. But Chase knew the answer to both these questions, period, new paragraph. While Elmridge Elementary was a much smaller school, comma, didn't have the same amenities as Bishop's, comma, not even close, comma. It was just that, colon, smaller, period, new paragraph. It had according to the website, comma, Elmridge had a total population of 110 kids, comma, give or take. While Bishop's looked like about 4 times that many, period, new paragraph. More kids would mean more opportunity for them to figure out exactly who Georgina was, period, new paragraph. And she couldn't move closer to the city, comma, because with that would come back too many memories, period, new paragraph. Open quote, please, question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Chase frowned, period, new paragraph. And she closed her laptop, period, new paragraph, open quote. We'll see, comma, close quote. She stated, period, new paragraph, open quote. Georgina started to pout, comma, and Chase pointed her finger at her, period, new paragraph, open quote. Don't do that, comma, you know what happens when you do that, period, close quote, new paragraph. Georgina's face didn't change, semicolon. If anything, her lower lip extended further, comma, as if a perch for some sort of open quote. I'm warning you, comma, Georgina, period. You know the rules, comma, no pouting, period, close quote, in the paragraph. Georgina exaggerated the expression even further, comma, her lower lip now curling so that it nearly touched the bottom of her pointed chin, period, new paragraph, open quote. That's it, exclamation point, close quote, Chase shouted, comma, reaching over and tickling the girl madly underneath her arms, period, new paragraph. Georgina immediately started to laugh, comma, and begged Chase to stop, period, new paragraph. All right, what's up, leaky old man butt? You getting some Wendy's? Not a boy. Yeah, so I do my my dictation here, and then I chat with you guys when I'm taking a little bit of a break. I'm reloading my mind. All right, so in that chapter, I'm moving towards a goal here, so we'll get to a point soon where Chase is gonna have no choice but to send Georgina to the school that she wants to go to, and that school is going to be near Louisa, and you're gonna see that eventually she's gonna drop Georgina off at Louisa's house. So that's the way it's gonna work. Now we're gonna go back to Floyd. Floyd is gonna have to go visit the other parents of the deceased, and yeah, it's not gonna go well for him. Eventually, though, what's going to happen is he's going to be so upset by this, and he's going to be so distraught that he's going to call Chase, and he's going to beg her to come and visit, and then we'll see what Chase does. I guess it wouldn't be a Chase book if she just stayed at home, though. Did nothing. I was talking to my brother the other day, and he's like, why do all detectives in novels have to be like these drunken assholes? Why do they all have to have a shtick? And, full disclosure, my main series, Damian Drake, he was a drunk in that series. And he goes, why can't they just be normal and do normal crimes? I'm like, that'd be the most boring book ever. Like, nothing happens. The guy just, like, handing out parking tickets, citations. Yeah. So that's why. That's why they always have to have this. Something wrong with them. For you guys who are new to the Chase Adams series, she always is a recovering heroin addict. turned FBI agent, and now she's quasi retired. But I'm not going to tell you the whole summary of the last 7 books in the series. And yeah, now she's being drawn back into the fold. Chapter 13, new paragraph. Floyd sat behind the wheel of his car with the engine off until his hands finally stopped shaking. Period. New paragraph. Having never been a police officer, comma, having never been a solo on an FBI agent on a case, comma, he had virtually no experience at revealing the horrible news that to a parent that their child was dead. Period. New paragraph. How could people do this? Question mark. New paragraph. When he'd been working with Chase and Stitz, comma, Chase had been often the one to break the news, comma, and she'd done it in such a way that was nearly devoid of any emotion. Period. New paragraph. Stitz was the one to offer encouraging words, comma, to console the grieving. Period. But now there was no Chase and there was no Stitz. Period. New paragraph. There was only Floyd. Period. New paragraph. He took a deep breath, comma, and then looked up the address on his phone for Kyra, comma, one of the other girls who had committed suicide. Period. New paragraph. It was only a few blocks away, comma, and Floyd felt his heart sink down into a. He wanted some time in between, comma. He wanted to be able to collect himself, comma, maybe drive for an hour or two before he had to do this all over again. Period. New paragraph. But like a band-aid that needed to be removed, comma, he knew that it would be best to pull it off as quickly as possible. Period. New paragraph. After taking a deep, comma, shuddering breath, comma, Floyd turned the car on and then started to drive. Period. New paragraph. Unlike Mr. XYZ, comma, Kyra's parents lived in a brownstone detached brownstone with a large front yard and a wrought iron fence that ran the length of the property. Period. New paragraph. Dreading what was to come, comma, Floyd stared up at the home for nearly 5 full minutes before gathering the courage to exit the vehicle. Period. New paragraph. Dunbar had sent him some information about Kyra's parents, semicolon, unlike Madison, comma, whose mother had been out of the picture for years, comma, Kyra's parents were still very much together. Period. New paragraph. Which meant he'd have to deal with twice the grief. Period. New paragraph. Floyd made the small Floyd walked up to the silver box outside of the gate and pressed the talk button, period to paragraph. After a moment, open quote, hello, question mark, close quote. A man asked, period to paragraph. Floyd opened his mouth to speak, comma, but no words came out, period to paragraph, open quote. Hello, question mark, close quote. The man repeated, period to paragraph, open quote. My name is Floyd Montgomery, and I'm with the FBI, comma, close quote. Floyd managed that last, period. He cursed himself, period. Even saying his own name now caused him to stutter, comma, something that he hadn't done in years, period, new paragraph. Open quote. The FBI, question mark. Is this about Kyra? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Mr. XYZ. Can I please speak to you inside? Question mark, close quote. His stutter had gotten worse, comma. And when the man on the other side of the metal box didn't reply for several seconds, comma, Floyd considered that perhaps he hadn't understood what he'd said, period to paragraph, open quote. FBM dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma, please come in, comma, close quote. The man replied in clipped tones, period to paragraph. There was a buzz and the gate latch on the gate disengaged, period to paragraph. Floyd made his way up the walkway to the door, which was open a crack as he approached, period new paragraph, open quote. Do you have some ID? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Floyd fumbled to get his FBI badge out of his wallet and held it up to the single eye that peered out from the crack in the door, period new paragraph. He waited patiently as the person behind the door took several seconds to read all of his credentials, period to paragraph. Then it opened a little bit, period to paragraph. Floyd was surprised to see that it was a woman, comma, a woman with blonde hair tucked up in a ponytail, comma, wearing a white blouse and light blue jeans, period to paragraph. Behind her, comma, stood a man with a oak-colored mustache and a square jaw, period. His meaty hands were resting comfortably on the woman's shoulders. Period to paragraph, open quote. Are you Mr. and Mrs. Kyra? Question mark, close quote, he asked, period. Stumbling over the words, period to paragraph. The man eyed him suspiciously, comma, and kept his mouth shut, period to paragraph. The mother nodded, period to paragraph, open quote. Yes, comma. She's been staying at her friend's house for the last days. She was supposed to call us, M-dash. She was staying at her friend's house yesterday, but we haven't heard anything, period. We're very worried, period, close quote. Is she, M-dash, is she all right? Question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. Floyd cast a furtive glance around, period. A furtive glance around, period. The brownstone was sandwiched between two other almost identical looking homes, comma, but they were well out of earshot, period to paragraph. Still, comma, he felt the need to enter the home, comma, to get a feel of the place as Chase might have done, period to paragraph, open quote. Can I, can I come inside? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Of course, comma, close quote, the man said, comma, in the same clipped tone that he'd used to communicate with Floyd through the box by the gate, period to paragraph. Floyd followed him inside, comma, taking in the lavish foyer, comma, the chandelier that hung high in the ceiling, period, new paragraph. He closed the door behind him, comma, and then looked over at the two Kyra's mother and father, comma, who were still strangely standing in that same pose, comma, her in front, comma, him with his hands on her shoulders, period, new paragraph. For a split second, comma, he debated just leaving now, period, not saying another word, semicolon, just turning on his heels and leaving the brownstone and never return, period, new paragraph. Drive all the way back to Quantico, comma, toss his badge onto Director Hampton's desk, comma, and then get the fuck away from this whole mess, period, new paragraph. Do exactly what Chase had done, comma, retreat to the woods and live there like a hermit, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Please, comma, if anything happened to M dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote, Kyra's dead, comma, close quote, Floyd said bluntly, comma, partly because he was afraid that if he didn't utter just those words, that he would never get to the reason why he was here, comma, and partly because when you had a terrible stutter, comma, simple was always better, period, new paragraph, open quote. What? Question mark, close quote, the man asked, period, open quote. If this is some sort of joke, comma, I M dash, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. I'm very sorry, comma, but your daughter's dead, period, close quote, new paragraph. The woman shrieked then, comma, a sound so piercing and sudden that Floyd couldn't avoid the instinct to cover his ears, period, new paragraph. She fell backwards, comma, but thankfully, comma, the man was still holding her shoulders and made sure that when she collapsed, comma, she did so against his chest and not to the hard marble floor, period, new paragraph, open quote. No. I'm so sorry, comma, close quote, Floyd stuttered, period, open quote. I'm so sorry, comma, but she she jumped in front of the train, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. She what? Question mark, close quote, the man said, comma, his tone taking on qualities of his wife's sobs, period, new paragraph, open quote. She jumped in front of the subway train, comma, close quote, Floyd repeated, period, open quote. I'm very, very sorry, period, close quote, new paragraph. The woman's sobs intensified then, comma, becoming so loud that when Kyra's father spoke, Floyd couldn't hear what words were being said, period, new paragraph. Open quote. I'm sorry, comma, close quote, was all Floyd could offer, period, new paragraph. Open quote. Open quote. I just, there will be an officer here, close quote, he said as he continued to back. He said as he backed up towards the door behind him, period, new paragraph. The man was still barking questions at him now, comma, but even though the sobs had lowered in volume so much that he could hear the questions, comma, Floyd had no intention of answering them, period, new paragraph. I have to get out of here, comma, I have to get the fuck out of here, period, new paragraph, open quote. Police will come, they will talk to you, period, close quote, new paragraph. The man was shouting something at him next, comma, yelling at him to give them more information, comma, to tell him what happened, comma, but Floyd grabbed the doorknob behind him, pulled the door wide, and started to sprint, period, new paragraph. This time, when he made it behind the wheel of his car, comma, he didn't sit in silence to collect himself, period, new paragraph. Instead, comma, without casting so much as a glance towards the open door to the brownstone, comma, he slammed the car into drive and tore away from the curb so loudly that his tires squealed, comma, a sound that was oddly reminiscent of the noise that had come out of Mrs. Kyra's mouth when she found out that her daughter was dead, period, new paragraph, that she'd stepped in front of a subway train and committed suicide, period. All right. Leaky old man butt. How long have I been writing this way? Maybe 2 years. 2 years and about I would say 20 books this way, 20 novels. About I wrote my first book maybe 4 years ago on my BlackBerry at the time. BlackBerry was still a thing, and then I transferred on the computer, and then I wrote my first like maybe 10 novels the traditional way. And yeah, I wrote my first 10 novels the traditional way, or maybe 15, and then I switched to dictation. I've really never looked back. I think a couple times I was away, I was on holiday somewhere, and I and I didn't have the dictation software or something, and I was like, oh my god, can I actually write a book by typing the whole thing? I think I wrote a couple chapters that way. It's pretty easy though. I could go on a walk and put on my headphones and dictate that way, and they just transferred it into the program. Yeah, I only write fiction. Thanks. You're still on your first book? Well, good luck, man. The first one's always the hardest for sure. But like anything, the more you write, the easier it becomes. Oh, you write nonfiction. Oh yeah, completely different market. Yeah, I don't know how you... I've never written any nonfiction. Maybe sometime in the future. Actually, so before I was a full-time writer, I was a pathologist, and I'd write a lot of papers, and those papers all obviously nonfiction. Different style for sure. I spent a lot of time trying to convince the medical community that they needed to write the articles that had more of a story format. I spent a lot of time, and they're very resistant to change, both the academia and the medical community. But part of the problems with these articles is they're written so technically and so obtusely and so non-interesting that it's impossible for a layman to understand. And I get it. I'm not telling them to tone down, the science behind it. That's the most important thing. But when nobody can understand what the hell you're writing, when you can't translate that into anything else, you just become a hyper specialized person who's only speaking to the 5 other people who understand what you're doing. And that's not really the way science should work. Science should be a pyramid, but you can't build on something that's so hyper specialized. So I wrote maybe, I don't know how many published articles I have, maybe like 50, but I edited hundreds and hundreds of them. Ghost wrote a lot too. Try to put a little flair to it. It doesn't have to be super boring. The problem is though, the people in charge, the people who accept articles for publication, the people who review it, automatically, it's the old boys club. They're like, well, why would you write it this way? You could use a 17-syllable word, and it's way more appropriate. Blah blah blah. And I imagine the same goes for in physics. Are you writing a physics-related book, or something else entirely, like memoirs? I would love to do a cookbook. I love to cook. I sous vide everything. I smoke. And that's one day. I was talking about this with Lex when I had her on After Hours, another author, last week. And we both said, I think we both said that we wanted to include recipes in some of our books, and just never came to fruition. But that's something I intend to do. I see the character who's super interested in cooking, and I would do that. Yeah, okay. It's for sure a lot easier when you understand how to write a really good, compelling story. It doesn't really matter if the characters are fiction, nonfiction, if the characters are, I don't know, atoms, or if they're equations. You can still write an interesting story using the same kind of format that you use for a novel. You need good characters. You need a compelling storyline. You need to wrap things up properly. The scientific method really lends itself to a good story if you think about it. but for whatever reason, not often, at least in the medical sciences or the earth sciences, that sort of thing, that doesn't really often happen. Yeah, in academic books. Well, I have a couple book chapters as well, um, in the field I used to work in. The problem with that is they don't really pay much, man. Actually, I don't think I get paid for any of those chapters. Yeah, I think one of the most important things is conveying the research that you do to a very general audience. No, I meant for the chapters you get paid a lot. Well, good for you, man. I wrote a bunch of chapters for a bunch of textbooks. I got zero. So, um, yeah. I used to do presentations for the general public. I was always the guy they would call and be like, "Hey, we need you to explain the pathogenesis of melanoma, let's say." And I would go out and I would speak to a group of people. I would tailor my speech to them, but again, I was not shy of putting in like putting in the detail, like not speaking down to them, but just telling a compelling story, something that they understood. And the problem is like the other presenters were just, dude, god awful. Like 40 minutes of just wanting to stab myself in the eye because I cannot listen to this person speak. Ultimately, the most boring thing ever. And the problem is when you depend on funding for your lab or whatnot, if you can't communicate to the general public or to investors, then it's very difficult for you to get the funding that you require. I'm not really sure what self. Oh, you sit on the PhD board for MIT? Cool, man. That's awesome. Like I said, I used to work in the hospital here, the pathology department, but 3 years ago, I left that life, became full-time author, never looked back. Um, I'm living a dream, my man. I still keep in touch with some of my friends there, some ophthalmologists, pathologists, but that world is in the past. I will say that definitely that helped me. That definitely helped me though. All that, and I give a lot of credit to my previous supervisor, boss, whatever you want to call him. That just because I was doing so much writing and editing and had that freedom for academic works, it really, really helped me write a more concise story, just to be able to look at and understand what people are reading or taking out of academic articles. You just learned of the writing community on Twitch today. I used to go to Discord. I've been on Facebook for years and I have a big following there. I've never been on Twitch until about like a week ago, and I'm just starting that up. YouTube as well. But I do find that there are a lot of people here on Twitch. Not a lot, but some of them doing what I'm doing, or doing their own thing when it comes to writing. I just really think that the dictation format lends itself a little bit more to live streaming than typing, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, I don't really use Discord much. I've only so much time, man. I do a lot of Facebook. That's where I mainly communicate with the fans, and then on Instagram. I used to be on Twitter, not really on there anymore. Your dream isn't about being published? You mean for your fiction? Yeah, I mean, some people want to write the book that they want to write, and that's it. It's just for them or just for their family or whatnot. And I respect that. For me, though, this is how I pay the bills, man. So I can't really go to the bank and be like, "Arr." That's what people ask me. So they say, well, what about your muse? Do you ever get writer's block? And I'm like, hell no, because I can't go to the bank and say, sorry, can't pay my mortgage this month. I had writer's block. They don't give a fuck. So this is my full-time job, full-time gig. Yeah, exactly. It's true though, right? I can tell you, if people have writer's block and they're a full-time writer, it's not like having bills looming that you have to pay to drive you forward to crush it. I find a lot of young writers too, or not young writers, but beginning writers, let's say, they're just bogged down by details, by minutia. They don't actually do any writing. It's hilarious. I have this friend of a friend who he says he wants to be a writer. So I was like, oh, what has he written? Well, he's still working on the first thing. He just started. I'm like, he just started a couple years ago. I was like, okay. I mean, if your goal is just to write the book you want to write, it's going to take you 2, 5, 10 years, whatever. It's all good. But for me, this is my full-time gig. And so I need to write. And my fans are hungry, bro. I can tell you, I have some of the best fans ever, but I'll submit a book and it'll be released at midnight, let's say on the 1st of October. By like 4 a.m., I'll start getting messages. That was awesome. When's the next one? When's the next one? I was like, give me a break. But then, but I guess that's a good problem to have. I'm only kidding. I love it when they read it very quickly. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, no, this is that's for the editing phase. If I overuse certain things, don't find the right words. For me, this is just getting the story out as fast as possible. But usually what happens is the story starts off slowly when I both in terms of the tempo and the pace of the novel, and then also in terms of my dictation. But once I start getting into the meat of it, and then towards the end it's like boom boom boom, like I'm speaking 100 miles a minute, program is smoking, my computer's catching fire. But that's just been my process. I'm always trying to improve it, always trying to get a little bit faster, a little bit cleaner drafts. But I don't biz about that sort of thing. Just get it done, get the story out. No, I don't plan. I just go. I have a general idea of what's going to happen, but that's just something in my head. And then I just run with it. And then oftentimes it takes twists and turns that I never see coming. So yeah, generally, I think you missed this part. But I usually do like about a week to write the book, and then a week to edit the book. And then it goes to my 2 editors I have on retainer. They finish it. They send it back. I do a final read through. But basically, at that point, it's done. I'm just taking out some echoes, right? Like the repeated words in subsequent paragraphs, like very, very minor. And then I will just upload it, and then it goes live, man. I usually buy my covers in advance. I work with 2 different cover artists. I've been working with them for years. They're amazing. And then it goes up, and then I send it to my audiobook producer, and when they're done, I'll review the audiobook, and then I might make a couple more changes to the actual text version. But I mean, very, very minor things. And that's it. So that's pretty much my approach, and that's why I can produce a book a month. And that's like, I'm trying to increase that a little bit. But when I moved from my previous job at the hospital, one of the reasons why I went this path was just, the freedom. So obviously I work from home. As I was saying, I got 3 young kids, so they have, we call them ped days. I don't know what you call them. They're just like days off of school all the time. So I can hang out with them. I could walk them to school, that sort of thing. And if one month I don't put out a book, I don't put out a book. That's what happens. This whole COVID thing has been quite difficult because I have the 3 girls were home the whole time, so it's like impossible to write books during that time. But my fans are super understanding. I wish Amazon was a little more understanding, but and what I mean by that is in terms of promoting books, they're all about promoting new shit. I understand that. I get it. They're a business too. Yeah. Wait, I'm not bad about the Amazon. Without them, I wouldn't be doing this. So, yeah, no, I'm completely 100% self-published. So I do everything myself. I have my own editors. I have my own cover designers, and then I just put it up on Amazon. That's it. I don't have any publisher. I don't use a publisher. That's another freedom that I absolutely love, man. I could turn on a dime. I could write different series. I'm not really held down by any of the big machinery of the publishers, meaning that when I'm done the book, it's got to sit there. It's got to do all these things. That's what you told them? Well, I mean, it's what they want. It's what you want. Like I said, if you just want to write one book and you want to be the best book ever and it's going to hit a very small niche audience and that's what you want, then go for it. For me, my business strategy is to put out about a book a month. I write pulp fiction with strong female leads generally, or male leads, about, kind of twisty mystery serial killer novels. And I always try to put something in there, especially when I did my like I had this series about a medical examiner slash pathologist, and I always try to put some medical knowledge in there. So I hope my fans like learn a little bit by the time it's over. I don't mean that to sound condescending, but I just try to make them a little bit smart, and that's it. So that's kind of what's been working, and that's the way I do it. And yeah, because this is my job, this is my life, this is how I pay the bills. So, I'd like to like I have 50 books now. I think there are some books that I want to write that are a little bit off genre, so to speak, and I'm going to get into those soon, eventually. But for those ones, if they don't sell, then they don't sell. That's fine. I have a back list of tons of books, but I want to keep my most popular series. The series I'm writing now, which is on your screen there, Adverse Effects on the right. That is by far my most popular series. I've sold hundreds of thousands of copies in that series. So I continue to try to put out books in that series to keep it alive. And then I always try to write new series every once in a while. What is the blurb for it? I think it's amazing. It's so creative. It's like Chase is back in the 9th book of the series. That's it. What happened was I had that one on pre-order, and then because I couldn't finish it in time, the COVID thing, then it canceled it. And then like for some reason when it gets canceled, like the blurb that I had, which I fucking loved, is gone. Like it's in the Amazon abyss. Cannot find it, so I have to write a new one. And the thing, I hate rewriting blurbs. Like I don't mind writing the blurb, but then to rewrite it and like, oh, like remember blah blah. Anyway, so. So that one, right now it's just a placeholder. I'll come up with something though. But it's called Adverse Effects, so you get the gist of it. All right, we got 1 o'clock. Look at my targets here. Yeah, about 4,000 words. What is it about? So you missed the first bit. My books usually, at least in the series, usually follow the same format. So the prologue will be either from the antagonist's view or it'll be the scene of the crime. In this case, it was about 4 high school girls who were, by all accounts, super popular and loved. They all got a text message and then stepped in front of the subway train and killed themselves. And so this guy Floyd, who is a recurring character, this is his first FBI FBI case on his own, and he's really struggling with this, and he doesn't know how to act. And he reaches out to the main series protagonist. Her name is Chase Adams, who was an FBI agent, but for reasons of previous books decided to leave. And he asks her for help, but she doesn't want to get drawn back into that. As I said, she was a recovering heroin addict, and she has some problems when it comes to dealing with these cases. And she used to have this really great ability of using her subconscious to recreate a crime scene. So she could go in there and without too much thought, she would look around, she would kind of relive the crime. And at first she thought it was like some sort of magic, but it just ends up being that her subconscious is super attuned to what's going on, and without her even realizing that she's seeing things or parts of the scene, she kind of puts it together in this cohesive narrative. And there's an actual biological reason for that comes up in previous books. I'm not going to get into it, but she's since lost that, so she's worried about that as well, and she doesn't want to get back into the grind. She made a lot of money and continues to make money playing online poker, so she doesn't really need the cash. Yeah, look, I'm recapping like 7 books, so I'm not going to do that, but you get the gist of it. Well, appreciate that. If you like it, hop on Amazon, look me up and grab whatever tickles your fancy. I have 50 books, so maybe something's there that you're gonna like. Anyways, I appreciate you stopping in. I appreciate the questions. This I'm the first one was called Frozen Stiff. I really appreciate all these Twitch people stopping by. Super chatty. Hold me back from getting real work done. Yeah, check it out, man. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You'll enjoy it. I don't know how many times I've tried to train Dragon to say the word fuck or dictate the word fuck and it just won't do it. It's like fark. I don't even know what a fark is. Excuse me. Fark me. All right, we can do a few more chapters. My voice is a little scratchy, and then I gotta go pick up the kids. But like I said, tomorrow I'll probably be on in the evening doing something completely different. Not sure though. Oh, thank you for the like, Andy. Appreciate it. And thank you very much for the donation. Much obliged, my man. Let's go. I'm going to rock out another chapter. We're going to go back. You know what? Actually, give me 1 second. I'm going to get a glass of water. Right, I'm back. Bubbly. Yeah, all my books are available in Kindle Unlimited, so you can get them. I think it's like $10 a month for Kindle Unlimited, and then you can read them all 50, back to back to back. Yeah, I'm exclusive to Amazon. At least for the next little while. I'm thinking about pulling. I started out writing horror, so I'm thinking about pulling some of my horror books out of Kindle Unlimited and putting them on. Well, there you go. And putting them on Going Wide, but it's a pretty daunting task, really. Chapter 14, new paragraph. Open quote. Floyd? Question mark. Floyd! Exclamation point. Close quote. New paragraph. This is another thing with this program. What the hell is an exhalation point? Is a medical term? Like, get out of here. Why does it do that? I'm getting close to my exhalation point with this program. Floyd kept his head down and continued to walk, comma, pressing his way through the front doors of 62nd Precinct, period. Several police officers moved to get out of his way, comma, muttering something that he couldn't pick up on, period, new paragraph, open quote. Dunbar, question mark, close quote, he said softly, period. His stutter was so bad now that stutter was so bad now that even he had a hard time making out the word, period. He cleared his throat and said the man's name even more loudly, period, open quote. Dunbar, question mark, close quote in the paragraph. A hand closed on the back of his arm and Floyd jumped to his... Heart thudded in his chest, period. He turned and saw a confused-looking Detective Dunbar staring back at him, period, in paragraph, open quote. Floyd, question mark, what happened? Question mark, close quote, in the paragraph, open quote. I can't, comma, close quote. Floyd stuttered, period, open quote. I am dash, close quote, in the paragraph, open quote. Come with me, comma, close quote. Dunbar barked, period. The man pulled his arm, him by his arm, out of the main hallway into a conference room, period, in the paragraph. Then he thrust Floyd down into a chair, period, in the paragraph, open quote. I can't do this, comma, close quote, Floyd said, period, open quote. I can't, M dash, close quote, in the paragraph, open quote. Just wait, comma, close quote, Dunbar ordered, period. He went about the room then, closing all of the blinds so that the several police officers who had been present for the commotion couldn't see inside, period, in the paragraph. Only then, when they were all closed and Dunbar was seated across from Floyd, did he speak again, period, in the paragraph, open quote. What happened, comma, Floyd, question mark. What the hell happened, question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. Floyd looked away, comma, feeling his face redden. Period, new paragraph, open quote. I can't do this, comma, close quote, he said, period. On the verge of tears, period, new paragraph. Open quote, I just can't, period, close quote, in the paragraph, open quote. Take a deep breath, comma. What can't you do, question mark, close quote, in the paragraph. Floyd did as he was asked, comma. Further ashamed by the way his breath hitched, comma, by how close he was to breaking into tears, period, in paragraph, open quote. This, period, I can't do any of this, comma, close quote. Dunbar reached out again, comma, but not to grab the back of his arm this time, comma, but to place a hand on his shoulder, period, in paragraph. Floyd instinctively shook the man off, comma, not because he didn't need comfort in that moment, M dash, he most certainly did, M dash, but it reminded him him in an odd way of how Mrs. Kyra had been holding his wife's shoulder when he revealed the news, period, in paragraph, open quote. I can't talk to these people, comma, close quote. Floyd managed at last, period, open quote. The parents, dot, dot, dot. The parents of the dead girls, period. I can't talk to them, period, new paragraph. He looked up then, comma, and was surprised to see understanding in Dunbar's face, period, new paragraph, open quote. I'm sorry, comma, close quote, he said, period, new paragraph. This was unexpected, period, new paragraph, open quote. Sorry? Dunbar nodded, period, new paragraph, open quote. I should have sent an officer with you, comma. You were just so, dot, 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 confident, period. Close quote, new paragraph, open quote. Well, I'm not confident now, period, close quote, new paragraph. Floyd held Dunbar's stare for a moment, comma, and the man broke into a grin, period. Despite everything, comma, Floyd found himself smiling as well, period, into paragraph, open quote. I could see that, period. Look, comma, you want me to come with you? Question mark. You want me to join you? I don't like revealing the news either, comma, but I had some experience. But I have some experience in it, period. And it's always easier with two people, period, close quote into paragraph. In his mind, comma, Floyd pictured Chase and Stitz, comma, not so much their good cop, bad cop routine, comma, more like hardened cop and understanding cop, period, into paragraph. Floyd knew that he should probably say no, comma, even though the irony of Dunbar calling in the FBI to help and now Floyd needing Dunbar's help was not beyond him, period, into paragraph. But he was in no position or state to go ahead and talk to the last two girls' parents, period, new paragraph. Open quote. It's all right, comma, Floyd, period. It's okay to ask for help, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Even though he didn't mention any names at the end of the sentence, comma, for some reason, comma, Floyd believed that Dunbar was in some way referring to Chase, period. Chase, comma, who had tried to take on everything herself, comma, to try to internalize things, comma, and had nearly broken her, period, to paragraph, which is exactly why she can't come back, comma, Floyd thought, period, to paragraph. Open quote. I need help, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Open quote. I'll go with you then, period. Who did you speak to already? Question mark, close quote, in a paragraph. Open quote. I spoke to Mr. XYZ and Kyra's parents, period. With Kyra's parents, comma, I just left, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Dunbar frowned, period, to paragraph. Open quote. I'll get a couple officers to follow up, period. Did you manage to get anything out of them? Question mark. Any idea of why they might have done this? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph. Floyd shook his head, period, new paragraph. Open quote. No, M dash. Mr. XYZ said his daughter would never do this, comma, that this was some sort of mistake, period, that the footage might have been doctored, period, close quote, in a paragraph. Dunbar made a face, period, new paragraph, open quote. Well, I can assure you that's not the case, period. Close quote in a paragraph. Part of Floyd had been hoping that this much, comma, Floyd had already known, period, to paragraph, open quote. I did get the laptop, comma, Madison's laptop, period, close quote, new paragraph. Dunbar briefly glanced at Leroy's hand. Floyd's hands, period, new paragraph, open quote. Where is it? Question mark, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. It's in the car, period, close quote, new paragraph, open quote. All right, comma. Let's go get that and I'll bring it to the tech department, period. See if they could have better luck with it than they did with the girl's cell phones, period. Close quote in the paragraph. Dunbar rose to his feet and he clearly expected Floyd to do the same, period, in the paragraph. But Floyd's legs felt like jello, comma. And he remained seated, period, new paragraph, open quote. It's gonna be okay, comma, Floyd, period. It's gonna be okay, comma, Floyd, comma, close quote. Dunbar encouraged, period, open quote. Let's just get through this, comma, and figure out why the hell they would do this, period, close quote. New paragraph. Floyd tried to stand, comma, tried to plant his hands on the desk and force himself to his feet, comma, but his body refused to obey his commands, period, new paragraph. Open quote. I need Chase, comma, close quote. He said unexpectedly, period, new paragraph. Dunbar cocked his head to one side and looked down at Floyd, period, new paragraph, open quote. Well, I don't know if M dash close quote new paragraph. Floyd suddenly found the strength to rise to his feet, comma, and even went as far as to straighten his back and to roll his shoulders. Period new paragraph, open quote. We need Chase, comma, close quote. He corrected, period new paragraph. Open quote. That we do, comma, Floyd, period. That we do, period, close quote. All right. Thank you for the like, Jackie and Zach. Much obliged, much appreciated. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna call it there. It's 1:30. Let's just get the overall word count. See what we managed to crank out today. Well, about 5,000 words. I feel like it's moving a little bit too slowly. So in the editing process, I might try to speed things up. As I said last time I was writing that, I had this very same opinion. There are some, there are some things I really want to express here, mostly with Chase, but now with Floyd, and I think that's important. But yeah, we need to push this forward. We're about 20,000 words in, and so far we have very little action, which I'm going to change. One of the things too I find though is it's way easier to write more than to write less and add later. So in this case, for me to write a few extra 1,000 words, it takes me like, I don't know, half an hour. But if I have to go back and add it in when I'm out of the story, meaning like when I finish the draft and I figure, oh, I got to add this chapter here and I got to go kind of get into the zone again, it's much harder to do that for my process. So I much prefer to do it this way. I write a little bit more and then cut it back afterwards. I would say generally through the editing phase of my books, I lose about 10%. I cut 10%. So net loss of 10%. So in this case, because I'm going for 65,000 words, I'll probably write about, 72, and then I can cut back 6,000. A lot of that has to do with the fact, or at least I think it has to do with the fact that I don't pre-plan and I don't plot my books. So because of that, sometimes as I'm trying to find my way, like meander my way through the story, sometimes I'll go down little avenues that later I'll decide, this is not really pushing the story forward. I've said this many a times during these live streams. You got to really drive the story forward. There are a lot of authors out there who are savage when it comes to cutting shit. That basically, if something does not move the plot forward, they will axe it and cut it out. I'm not that militant about it because I do enjoy developing these characters and giving them more depth. But I also, from a personal, I read books that I want to read, right? I write books that I enjoy, and thankfully this is something that coincides with what you guys enjoy. But I'm not a huge fan of books that are pages upon pages of lamenting, of inner dialogue, of indecision. I just find those ones a little bit trying, a little bit testing for my patience. So when I write a book, I want it to be snappy. I want it to move. But I want to keep some of that personality. I want to keep that level of character depth that I've spent so long developing, especially when it comes to Chase's series, which is 8 books deep. But I'm going to cut it there, about 5,000 words. Not a bad session. I'm going to be definitely back every weekday. Okay, every weekday. It's a promise. 10 a.m. 10 a.m. 10 a.m.-ish Eastern time. Ish. Okay? I don't know. Like, generally, I drop the girls off and then I hit the gym. So it depends. I told that story about the stinky guy. He was back today. If the stinky guy's at the gym, then I gotta stay the hell away from him. Takes me a little longer to get my workout in. But yeah, about 10 a.m. every day Eastern time. And next week for sure, my goal is to finish this book completely and start a new one. I have coming up on the docket. I think the next book out, and it should be next week, is Tommy Wild number 3, and then Drake number 10. So that'll be 3 wild months for a Tommy Wild series, and then Damian Drake 10, which will be Strawman. Strawman, as you see on your screen there. That was the one that I dictated fully, live streamed it, 100,000 words. It's one of my best books. It's intense, and it's got a couple twists and turns that even I didn't see coming. And these are, using characters that I've written so many hundreds of thousand words. So I'll let you know. Again, to reiterate, the merchandise is done. It's been all finalized. I just placed my order. I just want to make sure that it's up to par, but it is pretty legit. It's lit. You guys are gonna love it. In a week or so, when I get the merchandise, I can show it off, and then I'll go live with that. Next Friday I'm gonna do another live stream with the after hours stream with one of my author buddies, and that's pretty much it. You guys enjoy the weekend. Stay safe out there. And thank you very much for watching.